I'm beginning to think my general manager is a moron. Intro video. Welcome to the Bruins Recap Show, where we review and talk about all things Boston Bruins. This is the preseason edition, which also counts as your September monthly long-form video. Of course, all of the individual game recaps will be done in 1-minute formats on the TikTok app, on my TikTok account. With that being said, let's talk about the preseason, let's talk about the offseason, and let's not bury the lead. But first, I'd like to take a moment to discuss W Energy. Got a whole night of gaming trying to crush that 9 to 5, or trying to figure out why your brain-dead general manager won't sign your starting goaltender? Hey, neither do I, but at least with W Energy, you can have crashless, jitterless energy from caffeine created from natural coffee bean extract. It has no sugars, no artificial fillers, or artificial dyes. Again, crashless, jitterless energy from W Energy. Use the promo code BRSPlays at checkout or in the link in the description down below. Avoid the crash, get a dub with W Energy. Yes, let us not bury the lead. We're going to discuss Jeremy Swayman, who has yet to sign with the Boston Bruins. Don Sweeney, what are you thinking here? You don't take the player to arbitration, which is fine and dandy and good. I get it. You want to be nice and friendly and peaceful. I get that. Makes sense. But before you have the deal done, you proceed to trade Linus Ullmark? Why would you do that? I don't understand the logic. You don't have Jeremy Swayman signed, so you don't take him to arbitration, where you get at least a deal done for a year. Granted, I get it, Jeremy Swayman might resent going to arbitration again, but again, you lose your leverage. Then you don't, you trade your second, or maybe your 1B, 1A, your 1B, your 1A, your 1 whatever you want to refer to them as, in Linus Ullmark, and you send him off to Ottawa? I mean, I don't comprehend the logic. So you have no leverage. So Jeremy Swayman is asking for a lot of money. Yes, he is, indeed. Is he worth it? I think so. Personally, I think so. I think he's a great player. I'm not going to sit here and be like the totally dumb 2 to 5 show on 98.5, the Sports Hub, and all other legacy media here in the Boston sports world and be like, oh no, you cannot sign the player, you must trade the player, paying too much for a goalie is a bad idea because now the player's asking for money. No. Jeremy Swayman is an elite, or soon to be elite, goaltender. He is the man who helped you defeat the Toronto Maple Leafs last year in the postseason and kept you in series when you were completely outgunned and outmatched by the Florida Panthers in the playoffs. With that being said, Jeremy Swayman can still sign with the Boston Bruins as he is an unrestricted free agent. I believe he has till December 1st in order to do so. I believe that's the hard deadline for RFAs to sign. I could be wrong on the exact date, and if I am, I will edit it somewhere on the screen below or above or whenever. But yes, and I'm going to say this, a lot of pressure is going to be placed on Don Sweeney, especially in the first couple of games of the season. You start the season against the Florida Panthers, and if you look good defensively, good offensively, and Joonas Korpisalo, who we'll get to that in a second, who might be the starting goaltender for this team, if he lets in about 6 or 7 goals off the jump in the first handful of games, you're going to have this fan base like setting the world on fire around you. Get the deal done. That's all I got. Like, clock's ticking. The season's almost starting. Get the deal done. But Let us talk about a little bit more about free agency. So let's talk about the players who departed the Boston Bruins from last season. So we have lost Jake DeBrusk, who went 7 years at $38.5 million to the Vancouver Canucks. Alongside him going to Vancouver is Danton Heinen on a 2-year, $4.5 million deal. Congratulations, Danton Heinen, on getting yourself some additional money. Good for you. I am always a big supporter of Danton Heinen. Everyone knows this. You also, to Vancouver, lost Derek Forbort, your left-shot defenseman, I believe. 1 year, $1.5 million minimal money. He didn't really have as much of a place on this team. I will miss Darla, though, with my heart. Going to Chicago, big man Patty Maroon, 1 year, $1.3 million. Didn't really have all that great of a time in Boston, especially coming off of that back injury. Just never really saw any significance out of Patty Maroon. Although, great locker room guy. Oscar Steen, he goes off to the Swedish Hockey League. Wish him all the best. And you also lose Jesper Voquist to Florida, Matty Grzelcyk to Pittsburgh, and James Van Riemsdyk, who recently signs with the Columbus Blue Jackets on a very minimal deal. None of those guys, with maybe the exception of Matty Grzelcyk, are all that consequential, personally. But we got some new faces to the lineup, including the one thing that you've needed since Patrice Bergeron left the year before last, on your 100th centennial season when you didn't have a number one center. Now you possibly do. His name is Elias Lindholm, 29 years old, center from the Vancouver Canucks, and also previously on the Calgary Flames. He comes in at a 7-year, $7.5 million per year deal. You also get a monster defenseman in Nikita Zadorov, 29 years old. He is 6'6", 248 pounds on the left-hand side, and you can't teach size like that. He comes in 6 years at $5 million per, and they have been pairing him so far in the preseason training camps and in some preseason game. They've been pairing him with Charlie McAvoy, kind of rehashing that Zdeno Chara-McAvoy pair from very, very early on towards the tail end of Chara's career. Also, a little bit of an insignificant sign, but I have to shout him out because he's a hometown boy. Mark McLaughlin, the pride of North Billerica, Massachusetts. He re-signs on a 2-way deal for 1 year at $775,000. Welcome back. Continue to get on the team and hopefully maybe even make your way into the lineup for Mr. Mark McLaughlin. So as we discussed with the Jeremy Swayman debacle that's been going on so far, Linus Ullmark, the starting goaltender or secondary goaltender or however you wanted to word them, they pretty much even shared time for this team. On June 26th, Linus Ullmark was traded to the Ottawa Senators, and the Bruins received Mark Kastelik. He is he's a depth forward. My apologies, almost said defenseman. That would have been bad. Depth forward Mark Kastelik looks like most likely a fourth liner. We'll see what happens. They also get a first-round pick in the 2024. That was the previous draft. The 25th or 26th overall. I can't even read my own handwriting. I'm sorry, guys. But with that pick, they pick Dean Letourneau. And Dean Letourneau goes 6'7", 214 pounds, a little bit of a string bean right now, but he can grow and he can build muscle as he is going to play center for the Boston College Eagles. He's only 17 years old. I'm looking forward to going to some UMass Lowell and some Boston College games and checking out this monster of a man. Dean Letourneau, the first-round pick, center possibly going forward for the Boston Bruins. Looking to see how he turns out in the college years and how long that will coordinate into pros. Also, as part of the Linus Ullmark deal, you get a goalie. Not a good one. Joonas Korpisalo, journeyman goaltender, most successful career, most likely with the Columbus Blue Jackets last year for the Ottawa Senators. 55 games played, 21 wins, a 3.27 goals against average, and a subpar .890 save percentage. Just not good numbers. I know Ottawa, not a good team last year, but Joonas Korpisalo, not a good goaltender last year. And career-wise, not a good goaltender. 276 games played throughout his entire career for 115 wins with a 3.06 goals against average, a career .901 save percentage. Just mid to below mid, subpar goaltender. And unfortunately, if Jeremy Swayman does not sign with this team, if Don Sweeney cannot get the deal done, that's your starting goaltender this upcoming season. It's Joonas Korpisalo and most likely Brandon Bussi. I don't know how I feel about that pair. We'll get into that. So let us quickly pop into the projected lineup. So your starting lines are looking, to me at least, as the pair of Zacha Elias Lindholm, the new center, and David Pastrnak. Your second line, Brad Marchand, the captain on the left, with Charlie Coyle, the man in the middle, with hopefully, depending on how he develops in camp, Fabian Lysell on the right. On the third pair, you got Trent Frederick with centerman Matt Poitras. Please, for the love of God, do not put Trent Frederick at center. It doesn't work. It's never worked. Don't do it. Poitras will center not only Frederick, but also Morgan Geekie. And then on the fourth line, we have Johnny Beecher on the left with Tyler Johnson, the PTO man, in the middle. And on the right, Big Justin Brazeau. All your defensive pairs, Nikita Zadorov with Charlie McAvoy, Hampus Lindholm with Brandon Carlo, and the young born on a bayou, Mason Lohrei, he is out there with Andrew Peeke. Starting goaltenders, again, pending the signing of Jeremy Swayman, is Joonas Korpisalo with Brandon Bussi. And if Swayman does sign before the beginning of the season, it's most likely going to be Swayman and Bussi or Swayman and Korpisalo. Now, what are the strengths for this Boston Bruins team going into the season? They are going to be just big defensive team. Their defense is what's going to carry this team. Big Nikita Zadorov, 6'6". We've already gone over that. Charlie McAvoy coming back. Brandon Carlo, hopefully he can stay healthy as like he did last season and become as good of a defenseman as he was. Hampus Lindholm returns. Hopefully we get a little bit more out of him with Andrew Peeke, who I think is a great third pair right defenseman. And Mason Lohrei will be more likely than not going to be that other six-man defenseman, and he is just a super talented youngster for the Boston Bruins. And again, the big question for weaknesses for the Boston Bruins. Again, everything about this team right now is hinging on Jeremy Swayman. If Jeremy Swayman doesn't sign, the big weakness of the Boston Bruins, goaltending. I have no faith in Joonas Korpisalo as a starting goaltender in the NHL. Zero. None. Zilch. Nil. Nada. Not a damn thing. I don't know if Brandon Bussi is ready to carry the load. So I don't know who's going to be the starter. I'm not sure who's going to be the backup out of those two. But you're literally, Brandon Bussi, he could develop. Don't know. But with Joonas Korpisalo, you are scraping the bottom of the barrel for a starting goaltender in the NHL. Now, the second weakness, and this has been a weakness of the Boston Bruins, I feel, for years. And they've yet to address it, and they don't know how to address it. And this is, in my opinion, it's the biggest issue I've ever had with Don Sweeney is the Boston Bruins have very limited depth scoring. I don't know who's going to start at the second line right wing. Is it going to be Fabian Lysell? Is it Trent Frederick going up there? Justin Brazeau going up there? Merkulov going up there? I don't know. And that's a bit of a problem right now. So we're trying to figure out who takes over the spot that was vacated by a lackluster Jake DeBrusk. So, I mean, even still, the bar is set very low. But after you get past, the top two lines, the stars, Lindholm, Pastrnak, Marchand, Zacha. Even still, Zacha had just not a good statistical year last year. Where else is the scoring going to come from for the Boston Bruins? Because defense can only get you so far. You got to put the puck in the net. You can't win every game 1-0 or lose every game 1-0 in overtime, shootouts, whatever. At some point, you got to put the puck in the net, and David Pastrnak cannot be the number one only guy, and then it's a drop-off to Marchand, and then an even further drop-off till you get to Lindholm and Zacha and Coyle and whoever else, because that's pretty much what the numbers showed last year. It was the Marchand Pastrnak show, and then everyone else maybe contributed with 10 goals. I don't think there was any other player, to my knowledge, I'd have to double-check the statistics from last year, I don't think there was anyone else who scored 20 goals last year. Now, here comes what everyone has been waiting for, the division predictions for the Atlantic. Again, I'm going to break this up into two spots. With Jeremy Swayman, without Jeremy Swayman. And let's start with, right now, what's most reasonable. Without Jeremy Swayman, the Boston Bruins, I have them 6th. You heard me right, 6th. That's how little belief I have in Jonas Korpisalo. So, in 8th place is the Montreal Canadiens. Sorry, not sorry. I'm just not impressed with the team, and I don't think they're ready just yet to make any sort of push into the playoff picture. Following them is the Ottawa Senators. Linus Ullmark makes the team a lot better, but they still have a lot of holes on that team. The Boston Bruins, scoring depth issues, goaltending issues without Jeremy Swayman, finished 6th. Detroit's looking to take that step up. Following Detroit and also floundering down is the Tampa Bay Lightning at 4th. At 3rd, the big shocker, the Buffalo Sabres. Do not sleep on this Buffalo Sabres team. They are that freaking good. Number 2, of course, is the out in the first round Toronto Maple Leafs. And leading the way for the Atlantic Division is the Florida Panthers. Now, this does change if the Boston Bruins have Jeremy Swayman in the lineup at some point during the season. With Jeremy Swayman, we start down at the bottom, and yet again, it is Montreal, following up by Ottawa. Detroit plummets their way down to 6th place, but a very close 6th place. 5th place goes to the Tampa Bay Lightning. Follow that up, 4th place and making the playoffs, the Buffalo Sabres. Again, don't sleep on the Buffalo Sabres. The Boston Bruins are not 3rd. 3rd is actually the Toronto Maple Leafs. I think with Swayman, the Boston Bruins are better than Joseph Woll and the Toronto Maple Leafs. So Toronto finishes 3rd, Boston finishes 2nd, and Florida finishes still number 1. But that is all I have for you. Again, thank you for Dubby for sponsoring this episode, or not necessarily sponsoring, but for the collaboration and the partnership with them. Thank you to them. Follow me on this. Thank you. Subscribe, all that fun stuff. Like, share, comment. We have Twitch, Twitter, YouTube. We're on YouTube. LOL. TikTok. Daily, every game, 1-minute recaps on TikTok. I will have the link in the description down below. So thank you so very much for watching. And I'm hoping for another playoff run for the Boston Bruins. We'll see what this team can do. We'll see if Don Sweeney can make any sort of adjustments to this team. Will we have a goalie? That's the big question. So, your thoughts down below in the comment section. And thank you for watching, and enjoy the season.